Welcome everybody to the Yalla podcast, episode 4, right?
Four.
This is
It's
episode
already
4.
Yeah.
And this time we have Nathan Jordan with us. Welcome, Nathan.
Hey guys, how you doing?
Yeah, okay.
All right.
So can you please introduce yourself in a few words, and then we'll explain about the podcast in general?
Yeah, basically, I am, or definitely was. I was a Christian Zionist. I was raised in a very ultra Christian Zionist household, and you guys are going to learn today just how, well, I guess, crazy the shit is.
Yep.
And in the off chance that a Christian Zionist or an ex-Christian Zionist is listening or watching, you're going to be like, "Yep, I get it. This is how crazy these people are." So yeah, that's the background that I come from. I was raised in Texas, which is probably the most extreme part of that dynamic in the US, I think.
Yeah, okay. So we want to hear from you more about this section of American society. And Elik, you want to explain about the podcast in general?
Yes, we're. I'm Elik and this
Alon,
is
hi.
Alon. We started the One State Solution podcast a few months ago because the genocide in Gaza started, and each of us had his own journey out of what we call the Zionist cult or the Zionist ideology. And we felt we have to speak out about it as Israelis, but we also understood we need to have conversations because they're with other people who are involved in what's going on, which it means like
Yes.
Palestinians first and foremost, I think.
Yeah.
But the more we research to it, we understand how much like this is a huge web that has so many branches, and that some of them are not, a lot of them, like most of the most powerful parts of this I don't know how to call it, like ideology system, yeah. They're not even here. They're not in Israel, Palestine. They're located somewhere else, and these parts determine our lives as people who live here.
And very few people know them, you know?
Yeah, and very few people know about it.
Yeah, so we have Nathan today to bring another angle to this mosaic, this ugly mosaic called
very hideous mosaic. Yeah.
The Zionist Project.
That we're still trying to understand how it works.
Yes, and we want as many people as possible to know as much as possible about how it works, because the first step to solving a problem is to acknowledge the problem and to understand how the problem works. Okay,
yes.
100%, yeah.
Okay, so Nathan, I think our first question to you would be, tell us a little bit about like your life story and where you were born and grew up, and what it was like to grow up in this kind of environment.
Yeah, sure. So basically, I grew up in the suburbs of North Texas, which is, excuse me, it's a very, I don't even know. It's hard to. It's very ultra religious, and ultra politically conservative. The kind of Christian nationalism that is hyper political. For example, do you guys remember like the January 6th storming the Capitol?
Of course.
Right. So a high number of people of the, I call it the cousin fucker rebellion, were from North Texas. Like certain parts of I was like, yep, that makes sense.
The people
that's the kind of people
into the White House. This is what you're talking about?
No, in the Capitol, isn't the Capitol?
It was
which is
which
is where Congress meets.
Capitol building.
Okay, I confused.
Yeah, and that was not shocking at all to me, because like that's the kind of people that we're dealing with, and there's between those MAGA people and these Christian Zionists, that Venn diagram is almost a single circle. I mean, not exactly, but it's damn close. So yeah, that's what I grew up in, and it's very much a information bubble, which is very true in parts of Israel, well, most of Israel as well, in a different way. But it's very easy to never leave that bubble. And if you don't, you're spending, I mean, every day, several times a day, hearing the same message over and over again. Like my parents' generation, for example, they've heard the same message on radio, TV, and now the internet, like every day, multiple times since before we were born. And something like facts or reality just can't compete with that. And it's very hard to break free of that. And I did the first time, actually, which I'll talk about later, a religious trip to Jordan and Palestine and Israel. And at least for me, it did not go the way that the trip planners intended. It's very similar to Birthright for American Jews. And a lot of times, like for millennial and Gen Z Jews, there are a lot of people that in Birthright that they end up having a different opinion. And it was the same for me, just from a Christian Zionist perspective.
Let me just say for the audience who doesn't know Birthright. Birthright is a program where a lot of money is invested. I don't know where the money comes from. A lot of money is invested.
Private donors in the US.
Probably, yeah. A lot of money is invested into bringing Jewish people from different diasporas, so-called diasporas, from countries other than Palestine, Israel, whatever you want to call it, to come visit Palestine, Israel, whatever you want to call it. And they have a kind of engineered, semi-religious, nationalistic experience, basically brainwashing into the Zionist cult. By the way, I participated in it as a soldier.
Yeah. And so the Israeli soldiers want to come and join, because then they can have get to have maybe have sex with American girls.
So this is one treat. One treat that is
that's the plan, right?
Yeah. Israeli soldiers. What really seduced me was the opportunity to be 1 week away from military service. I would not be a slave for 1 week exactly, and I was like, okay, I will take that opportunity. No matter what.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you will tell us about your trip, and maybe I can interject with a few experiences from being in Birthright, and we will compare the two.
But if you want to learn about the Birthright trip from the Jewish perspective, I recommend to listen to the first episode of Bed Hasbara podcast of Matt Lieb. He shares his story about that and how he saw
that's a good podcast.
Yeah, and he tells how he was like, what the fuck is going on here?
Yeah, so sometimes indoctrination and propaganda fails.
Yeah.
It backfires horribly.
Yeah. And Nathan, you are one of these examples, right?
Yeah, but
yes, definitely.
Later, right?
Sorry, what?
I said maybe we will get to it a bit later. Maybe first you tell how you grew up. What are the core beliefs?
Yes, what is the message? You said a message that is being pumped to the brain of people. What is this?
So basically, I wrote it down. It's here's the thing. Like any cult, it makes sense when you're in the cults, but external observers, you're like, hey, this is some crazy shit.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
And so a lot of this is just if it doesn't make sense, you got to embrace it, because it's wild. So there's basically the elevator speech version of what Christian Zionists believe is that first of all, the teaching of Jesus, yes, they matter in church, but you get this prophecy stuff all the time, right? And the basic story of this is that they see the Bible from start to finish as one tapestry, all telling the same story throughout in one improbably coherent way, culminating in the creation of Israel, the modern state of Israel in 1948. And that for them is when the doomsday clock started ticking, was 1948.
Yes.
And there's a few things that, again, a lot of the stuff is not actually in the Bible. Actually, most of it is not. In the New Testament, it's not in there, but it's bad theology. Anyway, so
that was the
1948
article you sent to us is about, actually, that it's a guy who explains why this interpretation that the state of Israel is actually a prophecy that exists in the Bible.
Yes.
Right? That's
several prophecies, actually. Several.
Yeah. Okay.
Again, to them, it's all one tapestry going. They take a lot from the book of Ezekiel and Daniel.
Yes.
A lot of passages from Jeremiah as well, from what I recall. Again, I haven't studied this stuff in a long time, but it's like they put it in my brain. It's there.
Yeah.
And that going all the way through the end of the New Testament to the book of Revelation, that to them is all one story, and it culminates in 1948, at which point there's something called the tribulation, which is when oh God.
Tribulation. What is the meaning of this? Just like semantically, what does it mean?
Basically, a time of trouble. Literally, a time of trouble.
Like turbulence, like we're going through turbulence. We're going
exactly.
Like it's the same.
But this is like, it's called the Great Tribulation.
Yeah.
And depending on where you fall in the spectrum, there's a lot of different. Well, there's a few different schools of thought. In that, I mean,
sometimes the air quotes are the most important thing of what you're trying to say.
Yeah, like thinking is a very generous way to describe this.
Yeah.
So a figure called the Antichrist will arise. And here's the thing, this is it's relevant, but the Antichrist is actually not in the Bible. That's not there. It's an extrapolation on the part of the Evangelical Christians. It's not actually there. So the Antichrist comes, and then something called the Rapture happens.
Yes.
Are you familiar with the Rapture?
I've heard about it.
Sounds familiar, but I don't.
So basically, again,
what will happen?
Rapture, for those of you who are listening or watching, the Rapture is basically this idea where all the Christians that are in the world at the time, they will be caught up in the air and they'll vanish and be taken away before the tribulation starts, before everything goes to shit. And at that point, a 7-year period will begin of absolute, Armageddon.
Yeah, this is what is called Armageddon, right? They call it Armageddon.
Yes. Okay. After the valley of what is now called Israel, it's like Armageddon or something in Hebrew, I think.
Armageddon means
mountain
of Megiddo. If you I don't know, Latinize it, it's Armageddon. But Armageddon would mean like holy, like
this event,
all out holy war, right?
Exactly. So and for all of that to happen, what has to happen is all the Jews have to go back to they have to go to what is now called Israel. They have to all be gathered there.
First, it needs to happen.
And
right?
if they don't want to go there, they have to be forced to go there. Like they have a vision, because there are many Jews that don't want to go to Palestine.
Right. Yeah.
But the prophecy is that it will happen.
It will happen somehow.
Yes, exactly. Like to them, to evangelical Christians, it's a matter of prophetic inevitability. Like it's going to happen.
Yes.
It's not about wanting or not wanting. It's like it's going to happen.
Yes.
Okay.
And they can only
That's
fill their part in this prophecy and just do their part to enable it to happen maybe quicker or
exactly, yes. Just like Lord Balfour, but we'll get to that later. Yeah, that's a basic rundown of this.
Lord Balfour believed in that shit? Like he actually
Sorry?
Lord Balfour
Who?
believed in that stuff?
Lord Balfour he did see himself in creating the Jewish state. He did see himself as doing God's will.
really.
Yes, he did.
I need
And
to bring in the Israeli angle, okay? Because
yeah.
I remember I was I don't know 10, 12, and I remember teaching us about the Balfour Declaration, and the way that the Zionists see it is the following. We needed, of course, we needed a safe haven for the Jews. And the forces in Europe were, they didn't really care about the Jews, but there was one hero.
Yeah.
And the hero was Lord Balfour, and he heeded the cry of the Jews for a national home in.
That's why in every city there's a street after his name. Like he's a holy person.
Yes.
Balfour. Like I remember like seeing his name everywhere because I've been there several times, just not in a long time.
Yeah, Bibi Netanyahu's house is on Balfour Street.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow. In
Jerusalem. Yeah.
That's poetic.
So they read us the Balfour Declaration, and they were like, yes, this and for the Zionists, the Balfour Declaration is a kind of document that proves their right to this land. Like for them, it's like they go to the Palestinians and they go, look, Balfour Declaration.
This power.
We won.
Isn't that so colonial?
Yeah. Excuse me?
Like, hey, isn't that so colonial? Like, hey, look at this document from the British Empire that says I have the right to this land. You cannot get more colonial than that. Come on.
Yeah.
But this makes sense because the early Zionists were actually colonialist people. They told this to everyone because colonialist wasn't a bad word then. Like
Ben Gurion, Menachem Begin, they were all like, "Yeah, we're here to colonize,
and
if you don't like it, you can fuck off."
What's the matter? Yeah. We're colonialists. We're doing it. Everybody is doing it, and we're doing it as well. And they weren't
exactly right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
like
so
we're here to settle the land
from our angle, and you can continue telling the story, the prophecy.
Yeah, that's I pretty much I guess finished the basic rundown of that eschatology.
Yeah.
And there's a lot more dynamics to it, but what that means, like the implications of that, is that American evangelicals will, they will back Israel, the state of Israel. That's the better word for it, I think. No matter what, it's like it is I remember hearing as a kid, like just to give you like as much as I can an insight. Whenever there was trouble in the Middle East, it was this reflexive, emotional, visceral response to back Israel. There's no critical thinking whatsoever. There's no thought. It is entirely dogmatic. Yes. I guess. Yeah. There's no room to move on that.
Automatic.
Yes. Oh yeah. Like not even like a faster than the speed of light reaction. It's not even no thought whatsoever.
I think I know the answer to this. But I want to make it very, very clear. If there are any Israeli Jewish Zionists watching, can you please explain what the prophecy says will happen to the Jews who are living here after the rapture?
Yeah. So this is fun. All right. So basically, what's going to happen? Again, to them, it's going to happen. There's no belief. Happen. There's no chance. It will happen.
Yes.
Like just like I'm looking at you now, it's that certain to them, right? Like a cult, you know.
There's no thread of doubt that it's going to happen.
Not even remotely. Yeah. So basically, once all the Jews go back to what is now called Israel, that's when Armageddon begins. And what that means is mass death on like a global scale, at which point 2/3 of the world population will die in
All
war.
world
And
population.
yes, and that does include the Jewish population. Like that's what there's 18 million Jewish people alive today.
Yes.
Right. So
Around.
that's double the Holocaust. That's 12 million Jews.
Yep.
So the important thing to keep in mind is these guys are not your actual friends. They are supporting you because they want the apocalypse to happen. And in that point, if they get their way, you have a 66% chance of dying horribly, right?
And what will happen to those who survive?
Okay, so yeah, globally, again, like 1/3, I might have it flipped because again, like the Book of Revelation, but they're very literal, by the way, these people. They're very literalist. Anyway, the people that survive, those are the ones that repent. Like Jesus comes back and they accept Jesus as the Messiah and, happily ever after, all that.
So just to make it very, very clear, let us talk to the Jewish Zionists. Those people believe that if you survive, 1/3 chance of surviving, but if you survive, you will have to change your religions. Your religion, you will not be Jewish anymore. Okay, that
convert or die
identity that you are holding on so firmly to, it will not continue in their prophecy. Okay, so even that. Okay, if you survive.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And it is important to note, I think, like when I was, in this as a kid, because I kind of started turning weight at 18 when I did that trip to my first trip to the Middle East. It's not, you're not consciously anti-Semitic, right? You're not thinking like, well, at least for my part, there are definitely anti-Semitic Christians in the US that are like, that do actually hate Jews and want them to leave and for nationalist reasons. That wasn't the strand that I came from. It's not a conscious anti-Semitism. It's like again, prophetic inevitability. It has to happen.
Yes.
So
and you were saying that it's a kind of objectification, right?
Sort of, yeah.
Like in our earlier conversation, you described it like a video game, right? They look at it like a video game, or
or like you're a piece on the chessboard and you just need to move that way, and you will be sacrificed when you need to be sacrificed, because that's how you play chess, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, I suck at chess, but anyway.
But which piece is the Jews in this? Like, is it the bishop? Is
it
like, how do they see the role? Because I think in Judaism you had this belief before Zionism that the Jews had this prophecy of, like, the Holy Land becoming returning to the Jews. Like, it does exist,
right,
but it was very, very basic, that it only happens when the Messiah come, and we are forbidden to do anything about it. And then,
those guys are still there, right? Like, there's a strand of Judaism that says like this is an abomination because the Messiah has not come yet, right?
They do exist. And this, and the nationalist one kind of broke this. They said, no, we have to do the part of God as well. And they say the non-religious Zionists are they call it the donkey of the Messiah. Like, we use them.
Oh, like carrying, right.
Yeah, they don't know, they're not aware of it, but they're fulfilling that prophecy.
We have to explain this why donkey, because I think the prophecy is that the Messiah will come riding on a white donkey. Right?
Yeah, riding on a donkey into the gates of Jerusalem, right?
Yeah. So they say, oh, it's a metaphorical, and the donkey is the secular Jews.
Is the secular Jews who think they're serving their own interest, but actually they're serving the coming of the Messiah. So I wonder how the Christians see the role of what they have to do, what you had to do. Like, how do they see? Because if it's an
inevitability.
Yeah, so why not just
Mm.
sit and wait for good to do his thing, you know?
Yeah.
You're asking them to do critical thinking, which is asking too much. I mean, honestly, like I've given up trying to get through to,
understand
you
their
know,
mind.
yeah, well, understand that's a different thing than trying to reach, you know?
Yeah.
Like we can talk, but are you gonna listen? That kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But again, like I said, like they will back Israel to a hilt. Like, you know, it's like to the expression to the hilt.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like they
I
will,
know it.
like no matter what, again, like I said,
Yeah.
it is a reflexive, visceral, we must back Israel because that is our part
Yes.
to give Israel what it needs to survive.
Mhm.
Which
Excuse me.
is backing all the policies against the Palestinians. This is what actually it means.
Yes, 100%. Yeah. And they, to them, it's not real, you know, like it's again, it's like moving pieces on a board to the at best, right?
Yes.
They don't realize that like this stuff actually affects people's lives. Like I didn't, and then I actually went there and I saw like the consequences.
So can you explain?
Yeah.
Maybe it's something that you cannot explain, but can you try to explain how your mind worked when you were under the spell of this cult? Like how does the brain analyze the world?
Oh God, that's an excellent question. That might be a bit of a loaded question, how it analyzes the world, but in this particular issue, yeah, it's like you can't. It's not conducive to critical thinking at all. And there are certain things that that we were taught about, like we were taught like basic critical thinking skills. Oh, by the way, yeah, I did go to a religious private school in North Texas, which is anyone who's listening who knows what that means knows what that means. It's extreme.
So private school as opposed to public school?
Yes, correct.
And public schools are less I don't know, fundamentalist?
No, like yeah, public schools, like there's no
it's just
yeah, but like they would still, for example, go to church or they see it in the media. It's still everywhere, right? This whole support Israel no matter what kind of thing, it's still there, especially if they're evangelical Christian or if they're raised evangelical Christian like I was. But yeah, when you're thinking about like I remember for a great example, I can't remember what year it was, but I was like in middle school. There was some kind of protest at the Church of the Nativity in Bethlehem. And it was, you guys know Fox News, right?
Yep.
Yeah, like oh God, Fox.
I mean, we know, we know. Like we need to say, Israeli society is very much affected by U.S. society and like most of the culture that we are exposed to, most movies, most TV series, most news. Like a lot of the things that we are exposed to are like actually American culture. So we know about, we know a lot about American culture.
Yeah, but with people know we've seen Fox News, I'm not sure. I don't know.
I know a lot about Fox News, but I'm very interested in like political issues. So I don't know. But people know about Fox News.
Yeah.
So what did you see on
Fox? Yeah, I remember seeing some there was some kind of unrest at the Church of the Nativity, which is for those of you who know, it's the place that marks the site of Jesus Christ's birth. And anyways, I thought in my head that like that land should be taken from the Palestinians because they're endangering the church, the Nativity. And it didn't occur to me like that is actually their lands, and those are like the Bethlehem Christians are like that is the oldest Christian community in the world.
Yes. Wow.
I did not realize or know that. And it was, yeah, again, it was this reflexive, visceral reaction to be like, those people shouldn't be there. That is Israel. And the idea of Palestine, like I didn't hear the word Palestine. I don't even until at least
you
college,
came here,
probably.
maybe?
Yeah, like until that trip, because there were a lot of Palestinians and Palestinian Jordanians that I met in Jordan and also in the West Bank, and you know, Palestinian citizens of Israel as well. Yeah, I didn't hear that word, I don't think, until then.
I see.
So the idea of like the land being called Palestine
It's weird.
that was a foreign concept. Like the land was always Israel for thousands of years, and that's what they
Yeah,
believe.
I think we can say from our own angle that Zionists in Israel also think like this.
Yes.
Like the
Yeah,
land is
right,
not called
right.
Palestine. The land is called Israel. I tried to make this point in one of our episodes that the land is Palestine and the state is Israel. And
Yeah.
I got comments saying, no, you are lying. But it's just not like
Yeah.
this is like Palestine is the name of a geographical area. Israel is the name
Yeah.
of a state. I'm
It's
sorry.
just like,
What it is.
yeah,
I don't.
the United States wasn't always called the United States. Like the United States is the state on top of the land, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
you know.
Okay, but this leads me to another question that I want to ask. Like you started telling this, but maybe you can elaborate on how
Yeah.
evangelical Christians see the Palestinians, see like the those people. How do they think about them?
That's assuming they see Palestinians at all.
Yeah. No, but they come up
Palestinians.
like right. They come up in certain contexts. Like their existence is.
Because why do you
Uh,
need
Yes,
support
yes.
Israel? If this
Right.
existence
In
of
terms
Israel
of,
wasn't problematic, you don't need to support it also. Like,
yeah, I guess it's
aware
very,
that there's antagonism towards Israel, right? In the
yeah,
world.
yeah. Right, right. Yeah, exactly. It's like, oh, these bad people that just came out of nowhere and
Yeah.
attacked us. I guess that's what a lot of Israelis are taught.
Yeah.
And that is the same or similar case for what I was taught. It's like, hey, these Palestinians, these Arabs just want to destroy Israel for no reason.
Mhm.
And you know, like the whole idea, like I had no idea or concept, like, hey, this is an indigenous people that is being displaced from their lands.
Yeah.
I was never taught that at all, ever. And Palestinians are at best an obstacle to the prophetic fulfillment.
Yes.
At best.
Yes.
It's a tragedy, but it needs to happen because it's God's will, right?
Yes.
Which is the same colonial bullshit Europeans have been using to steal land from indigenous people for centuries, right?
Yeah.
It's just the latest, you know,
They're a
version.
pest. They're a pest.
Yeah, exactly, right. Like, you know, hey, God gave me this land, get out of here.
Yeah.
Again, not because I hate you, because you need to leave, but because it's manifest destiny, right?
Yeah, like what can I do? This is
yeah.
God's will. This is destiny.
I'm just doing
You are
God's
going
will.
against
Now,
it. Bye bye.
I'm gonna burn your home down and kill your family now, if you don't mind. It's like,
So I want to say, we are kind of laughing about this whole thing because let's admit
as you should.
this is ridiculous, and it arouses a reaction of
It
laughter.
is.
It's funny. What can
Yeah,
I say?
because
Funny.
It is. It's ridiculous.
you know, you're telling about this, and I think like it's ridiculous that people believe in it, but you know, people can believe all sorts of stuff, but why do they have so much power? That's like the real.
So this is the thing.
Isn't it frustrating, right?
We can laugh
God.
about it all we want.
Yes.
But
yeah.
But the reason why, for example, Elik and I are suffering right now, specifically us, is in a huge part because of this. And of course, the reason why 2.3, I don't know if it's already 2.2, which is like horrible to think about.
That's about 2.2 2.1 now. Yeah.
Million Palestinians are in such immense suffering right now, is in huge part because of this ridiculous thing. It is ridiculous, but it is also real and powerful, and it affects our lives deeply.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
we need to do both. We need to laugh because it's funny, but we need to understand how serious it is because it is serious.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah, like it is like again, like I've got it on my like this list of beliefs on my. It's crazy shit. And how do people believe this? Like, it is hilarious. It's some Looney Tunes level batshit nonsense, right? But these people, like, first of all, there's a lot of them.
How many?
And like we'll get into, like an organization like Christians United for Israel, I think that has more members. That has more members than there are Jewish Israelis. Okay.
And how many? What is your estimate for the number of evangelical Christians, or Christian Zionists in the U.S.?
So that is, it's about 25% of the voting population, roughly.
Really?
Yeah, yeah. So like that's the group that, like,
tens
for example,
of millions, like 80 million.
Yes. Oh yeah, easily. Like it's massive, right? And these people are generally very well off, like middle class or upper class. They have a lot of resources, and they do live comfortably.
And they all are completely like-minded on this issue, right? They are all, it's like
more or less. Like, of course, there's some variations here and there, but they all come to roughly these same conclusions that I've discussed, that we've mentioned. And of course, it is a bit more complicated than that, but that is the gist. And again, they do have a lot of resources. They're very successful, wealthy people, and yeah, like this is not something, again, it's something to laugh at, but we still have to take it seriously because of how much power they have and how destructive.
Like, I didn't know that it was these numbers. I thought it was like maybe 30 million and then 80 million. And then I feel like in my stomach, I feel the terror, you know?
And you know,
oh yeah, my God.
And we're sold this story that it's a fight, that now the war is between the rational West and the fundamentalists, Islamists, and like the
oh God,
yeah, you know, and then you think these people are the one who are calling the shots, and
they
they're
are
the super
maximum level fundamentalists.
Yeah,
you cannot be more fundamentalist than this. You cannot.
Yeah,
I in my wildest dreams, I cannot even imagine anything more fundamentalist than this.
Right. So like,
yeah.
So it's like when you're dealing with the devil, right? You don't compromise with the devil. You kill him, right?
Yeah.
So to these guys, again, most of them are Republican. Like the overwhelming vast majority are Republican. 95% plus probably are Republican. I don't know. But they look at this in this very what's Manichaean? Manichaean, good versus evil.
Yes.
You don't negotiate with evil kind of thing. There's no compromise. You don't live with it. You exterminate it.
Yes.
It is, like you said, the extreme of the extreme.
Yes.
There's no room for debate or reasoning or thinking. It's either us or them.
Yeah.
Kind of thing, you know? So yeah, it is insanely extremist.
What do we do? What do we do?
Sometimes I would just go like hide in a mountain somewhere, you know?
Yeah.
It's scary shit.
It's scary shit. We are fighting against extremely powerful forces here.
Yeah, but it's crazy how it fits like the Jewish Zionist mentality.
Yes,
like the us or them. Yeah,
it's very similar. Yes, it's like there's a lot of overlap, honestly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you want to start maybe share how your journey like to here and to how you started understanding that like
sure. So like so I've been to Jordan, Lebanon, Palestine, Israel, whatever you want to call it, several times. But that first trip, that was in 2008. I was in high school. I've been back like 10, I think. But I was in Jordan during the Arab Spring in 2011, which was obviously a very historic time.
Yes.
And again, for me, I studied political science. For me, that was like just to live history. That was really incredible, as horrible as it was. Like it's just to see that. But I also took a trip across the border with a friend of mine at the time. She's American, but her parents are Palestinian and Finnish. Yeah, and her surname is Arab, right? Her surname is an Arabic surname.
Yeah.
And we spent this is the longest
May
time.
I ask, how is it possible
Yeah.
that you had a Palestinian friend as an evangelical Christian? What?
This was in college. So I like my undergrad was in international relations. And she was in the same major. We were both studying in Jordan at the same time. And I met her through a mutual friend. Like at that time, I was like, yeah, I was still religious, but not so much, like not as much as I was in high school. And plus, like at my university, it's a huge university. You're going to meet a lot of people. And like the population is like 60,000 students. It's huge. And yeah, so that's I met her through a mutual friend. And it was basically crossing from that King Hussein bridge crossing from Jordan into the West Bank across through Jericho. We spent 8 hours at the border, being interrogated by
8
by
hours.
the Israeli border.
Makes sense, right? If she's Palestinian.
Yes, 8 hours. Yeah, exactly. Well, that wasn't even my worst time. I like one time at Ben Gurion Airport, I got interrogated for 4 hours and they strip searched me and did some other more invasive stuff.
Why you?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Explain this.
I mean, I don't know. My surname, my surname is Jordan, which is Semitic. And they asked me like, hey, what's your father's name? All this bullshit. And then they also accused me that was in 2012, by the way. There had been like a bombing, like a bus bombing of some Israelis in like Sofia, Bulgaria, a few days before that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And something like 7 or 12 Israelis were killed in like a bus bombing. I
must say, as Israelis, we cannot remember all suicide bombings. That like it's too much.
Well, here's why I remember this.
Yes,
like we cannot.
Yeah, right. I remember this one because there was this like again, like we were in like some back room in Ben Gurion Airport. The guy is making me like a guy, he's a little younger. I was like 22 at the time. The guy was maybe 19. He was the guy who's like actually searching me. And I could tell in his face he knew like this is bullshit. I shouldn't be doing this. Like this guy's innocent. But there was this older guy, like 40s, 50s maybe. And he straight up accused me of being behind the bombing in Bulgaria. And I was like, again, this is like 2 or 3 days ago. I was like, I was here. Like,
yeah,
how could that, like just use, oh God. It was not logical. And he was angry. Like that older guy, he was angry. It was a genuine
It's
fury.
His job to be angry. It's his job.
Yeah, right. Like that's what those guys do.
Yeah.
And that was again, like that was about 4 hours that time. But I've 8 hours independently as well. Not just with my friend, but 8 hours as well. Like I've done it a few times. I've not been back since 2012 because they would not let me. Because I have like Pakistani stamps on my passport now. There's no way they would let me back in. Not a chance in hell.
Okay.
Yeah. So real shame. But yeah, that's all of these experiences and like seeing refugees in Jordan, Palestinian refugees, because half of Jordan's population roughly is Palestinian, right?
Yeah.
And then I also spent time in Lebanon in 2014, and that was during what was the name of that operation?
Protective Edge.
Protective Edge.
The one where
was obviously, I thought,
2,000 Palestinians were killed in Gaza.
2014.
Yeah, 2014.
And that was horrifying, right? Yeah, that was horrifying. I was in Lebanon at the time. There's obviously lots of Palestinians in Lebanon as well, along with Hezbollah and Amal. Did you guys know Amal?
Actually, don't. No.
Amal is another Lebanese political party that has an armed wing. It's Shia as well, just like Hezbollah. But these days it's much smaller.
Amal means labor, right? Means work.
Hope.
Amal means
hope.
Okay.
In Arabic it means hope. Yeah.
Okay.
But it's a Lebanese political party. But you see the destructive consequences of one, U.S. foreign policy and the Israeli invasion of Lebanon, which is catastrophic and stupid.
Yes.
Like it was just a self-own in so many ways. Like it created Hezbollah and made their terrorism problem exponentially worse. And so like you get all those angles, like the Jordanian angle, the Syrian and Lebanese one, the Palestinian one in Palestine proper.
Yes.
I worked for a human rights group in 2012. I was based in Beit Sahur. Do you guys know Beit Sahur?
Can you repeat that, please?
Beit Sahur.
It's in the West Bank.
It's like, yeah, it's in the West Bank. It's like no. There's actually, I think there's a settlement called Hashalom right across the valley from Beit Sahur. Beit Sahur is right next to Bethlehem or Beit Lehem in Arabic. It was literally like the Church of the Nativity was a 15-minute walk away from where I was based. So you get that angle, right? And that was in the middle of everything. You see the settlements, the checkpoints, the interrogations, like because I would often come to Jerusalem for work because I was American, so I could. My Palestinian colleagues obviously could not. To go through the wall, like that's even if you can as a Palestinian, it takes so long that you may as well not, right? Even if you have what is it like level 2 or like the card that lets you go through the checkpoint. But you see the shit that Palestinians have to put up with every day. And that's all of that was very eye-opening. And you're like, you cannot walk away from that unchanged, you can't see the settlements, like the encroaching, the encroaching settlements surrounding the Palestinian villages, the fact that Palestinian villages are without water. Meanwhile, across the valley, there's a swimming pool with Israeli kids swimming in it, that's staggering, and that's not even an exaggeration. You see that and you're like, this is wrong, like I don't give a fuck about prophecy.
We must say there are enough people who see this and do not think this is wrong. For example,
I don't understand that,
and they see you do understand it. I claim that you do understand it because the settlers are just as much brainwashed as the evangelical Christians. It's like
dogma,
a cult to the same degree, and they believe the same kind of bullshit to the same degree of fundamentalism. And this is how you can just like not see reality even when it is in front of your eyes, or you will say, yeah, this is happening.
Or but it's okay, like you said at the beginning, when you're in the cult, you don't see very crazy stuff. You don't see it.
It all makes sense to you, right?
It's like normal. Yes, this is what things should be like. This is what things
I'm still interested because you could have become just another evangelist or evangelican. How
please make this distinction that you made for us, so that
evangelist
so just for viewers, I don't know if proper, but the nomenclature, an evangelist is someone who, like, for example, I have no reaction to this word. An evangelist is a preacher, someone who wants to, like, for example, I want to convert you because I care about you, that sort of thing.
Okay.
That word, I have no reaction to that word. Now, if you say the word evangelical, I have like a gag reflex. Like it makes me sick. Like there's this an evangelical Christian is specifically these people, like the MAGA people, like Make America, like the Trump supporters, those guys.
Make America great again.
Those guys. The economic anxiety people who are actually middle upper class. Christian nationalists who rely on this prophecy stuff to give their lives meaning. They're very boring suburban lives or upper class lives meaning. And to me, like, they are morally and intellectually vacant.
Yes.
right? Yeah. So like again, when I hear the word evangelical, like yeah, it's definitely PTSD from my upbringing, absolutely. But yeah, like my experience as an adult with them as well. Yeah, there is a reaction,
Yes.
uh, just a reaction of disgust and revulsion to these people,
Yep.
and to the movement that they stick with. It is a disgrace.
Yes.
So that's the reaction I have, and yeah, that means specifically the Christian national evangelical. Sorry,
It's a
the Christian
well,
nationalist people who believe in this prophecy, right?
let's call it in the name, okay, about also Zionism and stuff. It's some sort of a form of a death cult.
Yes.
Like that's how
Yes, 100%.
we
Yeah,
call it like
yeah.
the way it is. Because
Yeah,
always about provoking more death, more war, more conflicts between people who are in the
because
not
that's what
so
needs to happen, right? Yeah,
yeah. And it's it's
yeah.
all based on the belief that it's inevitable.
Yes.
So
Yes,
If it
yes.
has to happen, then why not?
Yeah.
We will make it happen.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm still like
And it's
interested
horrifying.
how did it happen? Like so you saw that, but
I need to ask this question because I found myself confused a little bit by your story. Can you just give us the timeline
yes.
of like your
Oh,
different visits to this area and maybe how each of them kind of affected your
Correct something.
correct something or whatever.
2008. So 2008 was the first trip. Actually, again, I had excuse me. I had been to Europe before that once, but I was a very sheltered kid. So 2008 was my first trip to Jordan, and Israel, Palestine, and that was like the awakening, I guess.
Hold on, that was
I
the
also
trip that
went.
was parallel to Birthright?
It's based, yeah, like okay, oh yeah. Sorry, that is it's like a 10-day religious trip, and these things are common. This is why I'm kind of surprised you guys don't know about this, is because like these trips are
What is
common
it called?
for like American evangelicals. Oh God, what was it? It was like a leadership university thing.
Okay.
All these different programs have different names for it, but it all has the same purpose to take you to all the holy sites, right? And you don't see like you'll see all like the holy sites in Jerusalem and Nazareth, Armageddon, things like that. Caesarea, beautiful place by the way, Caesarea. But you do not see the reality, right?
Yeah.
I only heard about it from my Palestinian friends that I met in Jordan on that trip. So that was like a suspicious awakening, you know? Then I went again in 2010 on a similar trip.
But hold on, I'm still confused. In this 10-day trip that you took in 2008, you were in Jordan. And then you say you met Palestinian friends in Jordan. How did you have the opportunity? Like, how did it?
Oh, that was part of the program because like it was a part of a leadership exchange between Jordanian and American students. And a lot of these Jordanians, like of course Jordan is mostly Muslim, but a lot of these Jordanians were Christian. And that's when I found out that not all Christians think like I did.
I am still confused. I'm sorry. I'm going to need to ask you again. How is it possible that Palestinians would cooperate with this bullshit? Like, how? Why? How did it?
That is an excellent question, and I have no idea.
We're gonna have to ask them, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Maybe you can connect us with a few Palestinian friends who can give us this angle. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, like that's an excellent question. I really actually haven't thought about that. Like, why would they? Man, I don't know.
Maybe to enable some kind of possibility of people like you waking up.
Right.
Maybe.
Yeah. That
I don't know.
Honestly could be it. Yeah. But yeah, so flash forward 2011, that was my first, I studied abroad in Jordan, Arab Spring. And obviously like there are lots of Palestinians there. I was there for like spring until the end of summer. And that was again very, very eye-opening. Then 1 year later, I was working for a human rights group based in Beit Zahor, Bethlehem, basically. And that was when I like you lived the occupation, right? Like every day, like like the Israelis control the water, the food, like everything that gets in and out of the West Bank, they control it all, right? Uh, and of course, like according to the Oslo Accords, which Israel violates on a regular basis, on a daily basis,
Mm-hmm.
uh, uh, there are areas that are exclusively Palestinian, but there would be raids into Palestinian territories. And there still are, like in Jenin, there's tons of raids in Jenin right
Yes.
now.
Yes.
Jenin is for those listening, Jenin is a village in the West Bank. And yeah, living the occupation, you cannot live that without being radicalized.
Yes,
You
it's
cannot
the moment
see
it
that.
becomes personal, the moment you see it with your own
Yes,
mind.
100%. Like one time, I was taking the bus back, like that minibus that leads from Damascus Gate back to the border wall with Bethlehem. Then you take a taxi once you cross through.
Mm-hmm.
We were taking the bus back to the wall, the apartheid wall. I was with a bus of Palestinians, and we got stopped on the right outside the old city of Jerusalem, and like no, we had driven like 400 meters from Damascus Gate, 400 meters. That was it. We get stopped by the Israelis, and they do a check. They check all our passport, which they had just done. Check all our papers again. And for me, they saw mine. They're like, yeah, whatever. But they dragged an 80-something-year-old woman off the bus. They dragged her off the bus. Clearly not a threat. And of course, my at the time, my Arabic was, yeah.
I'm imagining my grandmother being. I cannot imagine. Imagine.
Yeah, my God. And I saw like my Arabic at the time was, not great, but the guy sitting next to me spoke English, and he was, he explained to me what was happening, and like this woman, she had to overstay for a hospital visit by like one day in Jerusalem instead of because she lives in Bethlehem, and yeah, but she had papers for it, and the soldiers dragged her off anyway.
Yes.
And then so that concludes, and then we drive across. What was it the Kidron Valley?
Do you
I
have
think.
any idea what happened to her?
No.
You don't know what happened.
No.
Yes,
No.
the thing you never know. It's like goes.
Yeah, but again, she was very old and frail, and
yeah.
Then we drive another 400 meters. I think close to the King David Hotel. My memory's a bit hazy. About another 400 meters across the valley. It's Jerusalem. It's not a big area, right? And we're heading, further into East Jerusalem towards the wall. 400 meters later, after that first stop, we get stopped again, and they do the same thing, running us through, and it was longer that time, very obnoxious.
Yeah.
And that happens like several times, like a lot of times when I did that commute. But that because of that woman, that's the one that in my mind that is impressed on my mind.
Yes.
And also like there was this kid in I can't remember the name of the village. It was a protest on the Friday.
In East Jerusalem? In East Jerusalem?
No. This is in the West Bank. It was
oh, this is a different story.
Yeah.
Okay.
This village near it was near Nablus.
Yes, okay.
But there was some protest happening. Peaceful protest, not even stones being thrown, just peaceful, like Palestinians were shouting it. And this 17-year-old kid got shot in the back. He was unarmed. He got shot in the back by an Israeli soldier, and he obviously he died.
You were
and I remember thinking like, sorry, go ahead.
You were there at the moment, like you were.
I was like way in the back. But I remember seeing the body and thinking like, there's not as much blood because I'd never seen someone die before, right?
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, yeah, I can't remember the name of the village, but anyway, like this kid died. His grandmother was there, the kid's grandmother, and she was being held back by other Palestinians. Of course, I didn't know what she was saying, but her screams will haunt me. Yeah. and you cannot see things like that without being
I can't help
radicalized, you know?
I can't help thinking like stories like this have happened 50,000 times in the last 6 months.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Way even more
that
horrible
same
than
thing. What do we not know about, you know? That has haunted me like these last since October 7th. Even before then, because like that kid, that's still in my mind. That story, I think about that all the time.
Yeah.
And that kid never got justice.
How many
Like the soldier
people
that
died in the West Bank before 7th of October? Only in the only
it was like
23.
300 people.
Yeah, 100 people.
Something like 300 Palestinians were killed before October 7th in the West Bank.
Yes.
So it's not like you cannot say that October 7th changed anything as far as the settlers are
I
concerned.
just want to say,
you know?
I remember it was October 7th. I had a conversation with a religious fellow. He was, let's say, 22 years old, whatever. Like a religious guy that I met. I was walking a dog that I was.
So was this like after the attack happened?
Yeah, after the attack, I think it was October 7th, maybe October 8th.
Okay.
And I told him, listen, do you know that in the last year, 300 Palestinians were killed in the West Bank? And he told me, this is not true. You are lying. Point blank. He told me this, point blank. And I must say, I believe that the vast majority of Jewish Israelis, the vast majority, and when I say vast majority, I am speaking about 98%, let's say.
Yeah, like
the overwhelming, like that.
Yeah.
Will react the same way when I tell them 300 Palestinians were killed in the West Bank in the last year, before October 7th, okay? They will say, no, you are lying. How do you know this? You are lying. And you will send them sources, and they will say, no, these sources are lying.
Yeah.
This is what they will say. Point blank, deny reality. Deny. And if they are willing by some miracle to acknowledge that some of this happened, they will always have excuses. Maybe they were terrorists, maybe they provoked it, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Definitely. Not maybe. Because here is their justification. Here is their circular logic. Because this person was shot, and of course we know that the Israeli army does not make any mistakes, and that Israeli soldiers are
the most moral army in the world.
Yes, most moral army in the world. This proves that the person who was shot must have been.
It was their fault.
Must have done some kind of provocation.
Yes, exactly.
This is
the same. You hear the same from Christian Zionists. Like I have gone the same conversation, and it goes the exact same way every time. It's like, oh, they must have done something wrong, right? Victim blaming, literally victim blaming, or just straight up denying reality. You know?
Did you try to speak to some of your friends from the cult about what you saw with your own eyes, and if so, how did they react?
Most of the time, like I feel like we could break it into thirds, right?
Yeah.
Not necessarily percentage, but like one, like, you know, 1/3, like not an even third, right? But 1/3 would react well, like they'd be like, "Holy shit, tell me more," right?
Yeah.
And then there's the middle group, which would say something more like, they'd be like more like, "Huh," right?
Yeah.
That mediocre reaction, but no, that's not the right word. Like a very middle reaction. Like they're not rejecting or accepting it, but like they're having a hard time processing.
Yeah, they don't really have any emotional reaction to it.
Yeah, none.
It just doesn't cross the boundaries of their like perception.
Yeah, and then there's that final third, which is what we just discussed, the outright
denial.
You're wrong.
Yeah.
Denial, or they must have done something wrong.
Yeah.
Or usually they will deny it until hey, because we have smartphones now, you know, people can record these atrocities on camera, like we're seeing in Gaza right now.
Yes.
Well, thanks Israeli soldiers, just doing it themselves, really. But you show them that footage, and they're like, oh, like that guy must have been some kind of terrorist. He must have done something.
The footage on your phone?
No, not from that episode. No, I do not. That was not on my phone.
Okay.
Thank God, actually. Oh God.
Yeah.
But
you have footage of other events
on my phone.
Like you can show people. That's what you're saying, right?
Yeah, right. Like I mean, like even like I just like even since October 7th, I'm like, hey, like I just show them like from one of like the various pages on TikTok, Instagram, Telegram. I'm like, hey, check this out.
Yeah.
And it reverts from, I don't know, reverse the right word, but it goes from denial to, oh, that person must have done, they must be a terrorist somehow. And I've also been called a terrorist sympathizer.
Yes.
Or a terrorist. Since October 7th, I've lost some friends.
Yes.
Which sucks. But
it's just I'm assuming you haven't lost them like they didn't die. You lost them as friends, right? Because
as friends, yeah.
In this time, we have
none of them have died, as far as I know.
Emphasize that
I hope
this
not.
is the meaning.
Yeah. An important distinction there. But yeah, like I've lost them as friends because like it's so alien to them that the idea that, hey, Palestinians
are real people.
Are real people,
yeah,
who can
exactly,
be innocent, who can be,
and that they're not just terrorists, you know.
Yes.
And yeah, that's caused, like we discussed earlier, that caused some strain in relationships with family, friends, in many places, in many parts.
Yes.
Because it's so alien to them. Again, like I said earlier, the idea of even Palestine existing is not even a concept, you know?
Yeah.
But they're definitely feeling there's something going on right now, right? In the world, in the public opinion, and they feel that I wonder if these people feel like they're losing in a way, or
maybe this is a good sign because some turbulence. What is the word that you use?
This is the Armageddon that's happening already.
Tribulation. Oh no, yeah, that's a good thing to touch on. Anytime an event happens in the Middle East, like anytime. Like there are memes about this, but anytime anything happens in the Middle East, they're like, this is the prophecy coming true.
Yeah.
Every time.
Yeah.
Like I was going to send you guys this book. All right. This book is called The Temple at the Center of Time. Look it up at your own risk if you want to go insane. Or laugh. It's comedy, unintentional comedy. But anyways, so this was written back in I was in high school, I think. But this book argues like how so for example, you'll get it. Between London and Jerusalem. So London, the Balfour Declaration created what is now Israel, right? And started off the apocalypse. The book says there are exactly 1,948 miles between London and Jerusalem and the Temple Mount in Jerusalem. So it's this secret code that God is trying to communicate to us.
It's numerology, right? They're doing numerology. We know all about numerology. As people living in Israel, we know all about numerology because there are a lot of religious fanatics here, and they really love their gematria, which is
really.
So gematria is let's explain this.
I've heard of this.
What do you know?
Go ahead. Yeah, I know I've heard the word, but go ahead. Like it rings a bell.
Is they assign a numerical value to each letter in Hebrew. There are 22 letters in the Hebrew alphabet, and each one has a numerical value. And then they do kind of arithmetical tricks to prove some points. As a mathematician, I am an expert in arithmetics, and this is wrong, in my opinion.
I'm shocked.
And but there's also do you know the Baba Booba?
I remember,
there was a show in Israel. It's called Zeuze. That is it. It was a comedy show, and there was Moni Moshonov. He's a famous Israeli actor, and he played the character. This was in the 80s or 90s, right? The character of the Baba Booba, and the Baba Booba would stand in front of a board and write all kinds of numbers on different random parts of the board and say words and word salad. And this proves that whatever ridiculous conclusion.
Wait, but it was satire, right?
It was satire, it was satire.
Oh, thank God.
But it was satire of something very, very real. It wasn't. It wasn't such an exaggeration, you know.
yeah, I mean, like there's people like that in the US, like, hey, like the Bible, like the Torah is some secret code for the end times kind of shit, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
That
So what is their theory? What is their kind of numerological theory?
there are several, but I do remember hearing like the one I just mentioned. Like the five books of the Torah had like that numerology, right? Like it's some secret code to tell you, oh God, when the end times are going to happen and how it's going to happen.
Yeah.
All this, yeah, just yeah, crazy bullshit. That makes sense when you're in the cult, right? You're like, oh, of course, this makes sense, and you know, but oh God, it's just like an avalanche of nonsense, right?
It's like I was wondering if do they, because we were talking before we started recording that I think many of us has the feeling that all this structure now is kind of, there's many cracks in the PR, machine of Zionism.
Hasbara,
And
yeah.
it feels that the world is shifting, the world's opinion. And I wonder if these guys are worried, or they're all like, no, everything is according to the plan, no matter what. Like, do they have some sense that they're might gonna lose, or it's not a possibility?
So, what do you think from the settler perspective? How do you think they're thinking about this?
Yeah, they think that the holy war is now it's like closer than ever.
Yeah, for them it's an
No,
opportunity
it
to take
is
over more land, to realize the dream of
to
the
expand,
Eretz
right?
Yisrael Shlema,
Yeah.
the whole
Yeah,
how do you say Eretz Yisrael Shlema in English?
the greater
Greater Israel, of the vision
Greater
for
Israel,
Israel
yeah.
to take over
Yeah.
parts of Jordan,
And
parts of
Lebanon.
Lebanon, parts
Yeah,
of
because
Syria, parts of
the
Egypt.
two stripes, the
Yeah.
two stripes on the Israeli flag are the which rivers are they? Which rivers do they represent again?
I don't think that's true. I think that's a myth. I think the
Oh,
two
it's a
stripes,
myth.
I think the
The
two
two
stripes,
stripes on the Israeli flag.
listen, maybe I'm unaware of something, but as far as I know, the two stripes are representative of the talis, which is a religious object the
Okay.
Jews
All right.
wear. It is a kind of cloth that has blue stripes on it. So this is a reference to
I
that.
think they came up with it after people who
Got
thought
it. Okay.
Yeah, maybe it's retroactive. I don't think that's true. I think that is
All right.
an exaggeration, but you never know.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, so
But
to answer your
what you're
question,
referring to is true, that they say between Ben Aprat ve'Achidekel, between the Euphrates River and the is it
No, I
what
know
is
שתי
Hidekel?
גדות לירדן, or לא.
No. They say the greater Israel is between two rivers, the Euphrates River, which is I think somewhere in Iraq, modern day Iraq, and another
that's
river.
in modern day Iraq. That's quite a ways from modern day Israel.
Yeah,
Yes.
I think
Yes.
Yeah,
And the
that's
Hidekel, I don't know which river that is exactly, but I think it's like in Egypt probably. Like so two.
yeah, it is. Like it's in the Sinai, I think.
Yeah, in the Sinai Peninsula. So it's a huge plot of land. Yes.
Much bigger than Israel is currently.
Yes.
So I can confirm, one, evangelical Christian Zionists believe the same thing. Israel's supposed to get bigger before the end. And two, they believe they're looking at this the same way that the settlers looking at it, and like through a different, delusional messianic filter, but still a delusional messianic lens. Nonetheless. And I can confirm this because I got on Facebook, and I regret it. And I saw all the. Oh, I did see one. Sorry, we'll get to that in a second. They are in a bubble. Like they are excited. Like, hold on, there's this one. I pulled up my iPad. They're like, where is it?
We're getting inside information.
Yeah, let me read this really quick. All right. This was written in early November on oneforisrael.org. It's a Christian Zionist website.
Okay.
So now I'm going to read this. I'll emphasize the point. It's like a short paragraph. Rather than being a scary subject, biblical prophecy should be a powerful antidote to fear. God, master of the universe, has told us it's all going to be okay. more than that, it's going to be absolutely amazing. Jesus, like in end time events, labor pains, but people often forget that birth pangs result in a birth. They are getting ready for something wonderful, something to look forward to and celebrate. So there is, this is
pain.
Yeah. You know who this reminds me of?
messianic.
You know who this reminds me of? There is a group of extremely extreme, I would say, conspiracy theorists, religious, kind of Jewish religious hippies in Israel who have all kinds of mixed beliefs about aliens, spirits, psychedelics, gods, history.
Wow.
You know, everything is mixed up.
That's a mix. They gotta choose. I feel like they gotta choose something there.
Look, they do not. They do not.
It's like
It might seem contradictory, but no, it's fine. And their message is always, yes, it is hard now. It is hard now, but you must understand that this is part of the process of, how do you say, Yalla? Redemption.
Yeah.
It's all part of the plan, right?
It's all part of the plan, and just be patient, and you will see.
Yeah, and don't worry about killing others. They're a sacrifice we're doing to.
Yeah, a necessary sacrifice, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I did see. This gets crazier, by the way. So you know, like the eclipse happened just in the U.S., right?
Yeah, a few days ago, like a day or two.
So I got on Facebook again, and I saw this oh god, this post, and so the post was like, or like the path of the eclipse was like across the US from like the Northeast to about Texas, right? And oh god, this post that a Facebook friend who's a boomer, baby boomer, an ultra religious Christian Zionist, how like there were like something, again, more numerology, like there were 9 villages, 9 towns in the eclipse path called Nineveh, which in the Bible,
it's Jonah went there, right?
Right. And it was judged, right? Nineveh was like, it was judged and stuff.
Yes, I remember now. Yeah.
And Jonah was calling Nineveh to repent and stuff like that. Or Jonah was sent by God to do that, right?
Yes.
After being stuck in the fish. Anyway, because there was something like 9, I wish I had it on me. I should have screenshotted it. But I decided to remain sane. But like there were 9 villages named Nineveh in different states, because like every state in the US has like, a town named after, like we've got a Paris in pretty much every state, for example, right?
Yes, you also have a lot of Jerusalems and Palestine.
Yeah, of course, right. Yeah, we've got a Palestine, we call it Palestine in Texas. We got one of those. Yeah. But so because the eclipse path followed those towns, it was like, this is God calling on America to repent or be destroyed. It's just, it's just a normal, like, it's just like the sun and the moon just moving around. That's it. You know? But yeah, like that's the kind of, I don't know if you mean mindset.
It is exactly like conspiratorial, like
yes.
This reminds me of flat earthers. This is conspiratorial thinking, 101, right?
Yeah.
This is what it is.
Yeah. It's utter nonsense. But again, when you believe it, you cannot see any other way. You find the
information and you connect the dots like you want to connect the dots, and you create the narrative, and you support the narrative that you want to support.
You twist the facts to fit your theories, and that's that, right? Instead of the other way around.
Then you work backwards. That's it.
Yeah, yeah. And that is if we could talk about Christian Zionism in a sentence, it was that, that's it.
Yeah. So, but this leads me to a question. Like, I don't know if there's any answer to it, and if there is an answer, I don't know if you would know, but like, how does such a belief become, like, how does it start, and how does it gain traction? Like, do you know the history of evangelical Christianism and Christianity, and like, how did this happen? So
one thing that's important to know, I feel like, is that evangelical Christianity, specifically Southern evangelical Christianity, has pretty much consistently been on the wrong side of history ever since the creation of the United States. So these guys were anti-abolitionists. They were anti-women voting. They were anti-interracial marriage. Obviously anti-gay marriage, but that was pretty recent. So
they're probably anti-trans now, right?
Oh, yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. Like again, the stuff I see on Facebook, like because Trans Visibility Day this year occurred on the same day as Easter, and the evangelicals just went batshit insane over it. Yep. So yeah, like again, point is consistently, reliably on the wrong side of history for the last 200 plus years. But in terms of the gist of how this whole Christian Zionism thing got started, was one, definitely it came from the British. Lord Balfour, like I mentioned earlier. He himself was an evangelical who saw himself as doing God's will in basically laying the foundations for the modern state of Israel. And in the US, there's been it kind of birthed, but the Christian right, what we call the Christian right, did not really come into as a political actor until really the 1960s, 1970s. And that was in a reaction to the counterculture movement.
Yes,
that arose.
I thought that arose. Must have been
right. Yeah, that arose from the Vietnam War. Like I growing up, I was told by like my not my grandparents. They didn't really care. But people my grandparents' age, people my parents, like baby boomers, they said they would always say like the 1960s is the decade this country turned away from God.
Which
I mean, it's
coincidentally,
it's not wrong.
Coincidentally, that's when Black people got the right to vote. So again, always on the wrong side of history. These people. But they really arose as a powerful political force with the election of Ronald Reagan in 1980. But like before that,
Ronald Reagan is part of this ideology.
He was a Christian and a Zionist, but I don't think he was a Christian Zionist.
I see.
But he knew that his voting base was Christian Zionists.
Like Trump does.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like that's God. Again, like that 25% of the voting base, that's the one that will vote Trump no matter what. That's the those are those guys. But
I need to say something.
Yeah.
Maybe tangential, but I think I just got this thought, and I think it's important because earlier we were talking about how many Christian Zionists there are, and we said 80 million, and they are one block, and they are united, and this is very scary. Let us observe that this problem is for everybody, okay? It's for all people who do not want to be subjugated to crazy,
religious, and fascistic.
Everyone who objects to Trump needs to object this huge block of people. And this is the way that I
not just Trump, like Biden is also Christian Zionist, right?
Biden is a Catholic. Again, like the same thing with Reagan. He is a Catholic.
Yeah, he's a Christian and a Zionist. He's not a Christian Zionist.
Like, does he believe in all this apocalypse shit? I don't think so.
Of course not.
I think his support for Israel comes from an emotional place. And this 1970s mindset that somehow supporting Israel is in the national interest of the United States, which is no longer true. It was in the 1970s, but it's 2024. That's not the case anymore. But I think he's still stuck in that mindset.
So I need to think this point. I think there is a nugget of optimism. Okay, we see that this is everyone's problem, right? It's everyone's problem.
It is
that we have a reason to come together. Maybe it is the most low of reasons, like the most the worst of reasons in some way, a common enemy. Okay, but this is a reason.
The enemy of my enemy.
So this is like, if you don't want Trump to do the things that Trump is doing in the US, you should be against this ideology. If you are a leftist, you should be against this ideology. If you are pro-Palestinian, you should be against this ideology, and so forth and so on. So, so you see that, okay, there are 80 million people, but we are more. We are more, and we just need to
a lot more.
And they're driven by crazy ideology that is not serving
psychotic
anybody's anybody's interests. Right? It's not the Americans' people interest. It's not the Israeli people interest. It's not the
Palestinian the Palestinian people interest. Right?
Definitely not.
Of course not. Okay, so this whole discussion brought a question to my mind, and I want to get your insight into this. Like, I can understand why Jews are Zionists, okay? The whole spiel, we had persecution, we had the Holocaust, we need a safe haven for the Jews, and now...
Centuries of anti-Semitism.
Yes, centuries of millennia of anti-Semitism. Now we have this safe haven for the Jews, and we want to protect it, and those pesky Palestinians are now trying to destroy this safe haven for the Jews. The story is wrong. The story is problematic in many ways, but at least it makes some semblance of sense.
Yeah, sure.
And you can understand why traumatized people and multi-generational
would react that way. Absolutely. Yeah.
Like, you can understand the psychology, right?
Yeah.
But why would people who are Christians and live in the US, why would they have such an attachment to this? Why is it so important to them? How do you explain the psychology behind this?
So basically, why Christians are Zionists, right?
Yep.
Yeah, that's the basic.
In the US case, like the short answer is hope. Like I was watching a podcast the other day. That's a weird sentence, but it's a good one called Colonial Outcasts. You guys should check it out.
Okay, I watch it.
And
of this veterans, right? It's army veterans.
It's run by it's two ex-veterans. One of them is like me. He's a ex-Christian Zionist.
Oh, really? Okay. So we should watch it.
Yeah. And the other one is he's a former military guy, and his analysis of operation. Anyway, it's a good podcast. But he at one point they were talking about Christian Zionism. The short answer to your question is hope. These people they want, well, I guess Jesus, but rather their version of Jesus to return so badly. And this whole thing gives them hope. And I think hope, that it's really powerful, you know? And they have, another thing is, like, again, like I said, these people are very privileged, very rich. I mean, not necessarily rich, but well off.
Well off, yes.
And what that means is boredom. I think these people are bored, and they need something to attach themselves to have hope, to have some kind of, something to motivate them.
Just to sum up, the reason a genocide is happening is because some people are bored. Wow.
You're not incorrect. You're not incorrect. No.
Wow.
It's crazy.
This
is the world we live in. Some people are bored, so it's genocide.
And they can have,
but to them, again, did you see,
play with other people's life on the other side of the world?
Yes.
Did you see, there was a poll, half of Americans do not know whether more Israelis or Palestinians have died since October 7th.
Muhammad
half of Americans.
Yes, Muhammad said it to us.
Yeah, he did. That's right. On the pod. Yeah. Like, again, like, we're very ignorant people, Americans, especially suburban white people. I cannot emphasize that enough. We are not worldly, well-read people.
Yeah.
Again, all this stuff, it's not real to us. It's stuff that happens on TV in another country. It's never real. And that's important to understand, because that is a big explainer of how this shit happens in the first place.
But maybe now
Is
when you said it, because boredom, I just now thought that maybe this is the perfect entertainment because it's not real and it's real both at the same
Oh,
time.
it's reality TV. Shit, it's reality TV.
Yeah. 'cause-
wow, that's the most American answer you can possibly give. Yeah.
Fuck.
It is happening, but it's not close enough to shake you and you know, maybe.
Yeah, like it's not real to you, right? Like it's
Yeah.
not your family suffering the consequences. It's someone
Yeah.
else in another country. Who cares, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
really wish Israelis will understand how much this project is run by people who doesn't give a shit about them.
How much they are pawns in games of other people.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
It
So
is.
this leads us to the next question, right, Elik?
Yeah. So now
Yeah.
after we kind of talked about the belief and your experience, which I could feel we can go on, and because you
You
have
really
a
could.
big life and
Oh.
you're an interesting person, and I have many questions also like on the personal level, but we said that in this episode we a bit want to start
Yeah.
to uncover how it works, how the power, because these people are not just like we just said now, it's not just people with crazy belief, the people who are embedded in the establishment, and they're part of a bigger structure that I think many people, including us, are not, we do not understand really how it works.
Yes.
And I think you have more knowledge and information about that.
Right.
Yeah, so we want to start to unpack it. I don't know how, but what is the best way?
So basically, you're asking about like the sources of like where does U.S. support from Israel for Israel come from?
Yes.
Let me say this. We know that the U.S. sends billions of dollars every year to Israel in weapons and also
just under $4 billion. Yeah.
Yes, and also gives
roughly $4 billion a year.
Yes, roughly $4 billion a year, and also gives unwavering diplomatic support to Israel, vetoing every single vote. The U.S. is the existence of Israel would not be possible if it weren't for this huge amount of help from the U.S. What makes this? How does this happen?
Yes, that's
So the history of that is a long it's a long answer, but basically the main patron saint of the main patron state of Israel until 1967 was actually the Soviet Union.
Yes, the USSR.
They provided more aid than the United States did until the 6-Day War, and that really changed things.
Because Israel was like socialist country. That's how it was conceived.
Exactly right. Like that was the idea. Like the socialist liberal.
Part of the plan of the early Zionists was to convince some higher ups in the Soviet regime that we are a socialist and maybe communist project, and therefore you should support us. I don't know how colonialism, and they also convinced the colonialists, the imperialist colonialists of Europe, that this is a colonialist project. How colonialism works with socialism, I don't know, but they managed to make this double game.
This is playing both sides,
which is impressive. I must say, it's impressive.
It actually,
credit is due.
That is impressive.
They were smart politicians.
Yeah, they were smart politicians.
It was. I mean, I would say like guys like Menachem Begin, Golda Meir, they were given credit. They were smart people. But and even Ben Gurion.
Yes, Ben Gurion.
They committed atrocities, but they were smart people. But anyways, so
after
there was a memo. Sorry, there was a memo that came out in I think it was 1948 or 49, from the CIA, which is like a year or two old at the time, that basically said Palestine is a very weak country, but it's got so much economic potential. So the idea was, from the American perspective, was to, hey, the Israel project is a way to project power into the region in a manner that is relatively cost effective, and which is basic great power politics. Like you want to find how to project power in the most cost effective way possible.
This is like the new form of imperialism, right?
Yeah, it's very
outsourcing.
Yeah.
Yes, instead of like doing that yourselves, it's power projection, and that was the idea, which again is a smart idea, and there were a lot of guys in the military and intelligence diplomatic communities in the U.S. in the 40s and 50s that said, "Hey, this might be good in the short run, but in the long term, this is not sustainable." Even Harry Truman, who was the president at the time of the U.S., he was very reluctant to recognize Israel, and he did, but he did so with hesitance.
Yeah.
But that great power logic, which again, if I'm putting on my Henry Kissinger, you know who that is?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Horrible, one of the most horrible people in the history of Earth.
Evil people, right?
Yeah.
If I'm putting morals completely to the side and putting on my Henry Kissinger, Emperor Palpatine, lightning from the fingertips, evil.
Yeah.
It makes strategic sense. And that was true until the 70s, I would say. But the sources of US support for Israel ever since then, since I'd say probably like the 80s, since the Reagan administration, are entirely domestic in nature. Like if the US were acting in its own national interest, if it were acting as a great power should, it would have reformed this situation a long time ago, and would have forced Israel in a position where it could not sustain the occupation. I
need to clarify something, because Elik and I, we have a lot of conversations about what's going on here, both on camera and like more just between us. And one of the points that we keep returning to is the moment it is unviable for the US to stop supporting Israel and Zionism, they will stop within, let's say, a week. Maybe that's not true, because you're saying it hasn't been viable for, I don't know, 50 years? This is what you're saying?
In terms of foreign policy, it's idiot. And again, this is it's an idiotic, catastrophically stupid cell phone. It's not cost effective. It's just like Joe Biden has burned through political, economic, diplomatic, and military capital to support basically a spoiled, rotten nepo baby.
Yep.
But how? Why? Like, why did he make this?
Right.
Yeah.
I think Nathan is getting to this.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
From Biden's perspective, again, I think for him, it is emotional. This is a guy who grew up right after the Holocaust. For him, it is emotional, and I think he is still stuck in that. In many ways, he's still stuck in like a 1970s mindset, not just in terms of foreign policy. This idea that Israel, again, he said on numerous occasions, if Israel did not exist, we would have to invent one to assert our interests, right? He has this idea that Israel is vital to American national interests still, which again, that has not been true since the 1970s. But
also, what changed in the 19th? Like, why do you say that there was this shift?
Okay, so here's the question then. When is the last time Israel won a war without external help?
I don't know.
Did it ever happen?
The answer is 1967.
67, yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah, now the Yom Kippur War in 1973.
Yeah.
Israel got its ass kicked in the Northern Front.
Yes, we know this is a national trauma here that has.
Absolutely.
Every year on Yom Kippur, which is a sacred day in Judaism, it's a day of repentance. And this was the day that Israel was attacked, very surprisingly. And this is a day where there's no public transportation. You cannot drive in the street as well. Like religion really.
Oh, wow.
Okay, people don't know this. Maybe we should tell about this a little bit.
Until now, the 7th of October is like
the new.
It's the new, and it's even in a way it's bigger.
Yes,
you know?
More extreme, right? Yeah.
So there are a lot of religious customs in Yom Kippur, which like most secular Jews do not respect religious customs in everyday life in most days, but on Yom Kippur they do. Okay, and you cannot drive in the streets, and all the roads in Israel, except in Palestinian villages and so forth, and towns, are empty, completely empty. Okay, and this is when they decided to attack, which is, I think, strategically genius. And Israel asses kicked, and thousands of people were killed, of Israelis were killed, and this is like a dark day in Israeli history. So this is
and it was the biggest trauma until 7th of October,
which was 50 years to the day, right? Or one day or
very close.
one
like,
day
plus or minus
50 years to the day from the Yom Kippur War, which was I think it was 6th of October 1973, and this is 7th of October 2023. 50, I think it was symbolic.
No, I think they did it on purpose.
I think it was symbolic too.
Oh yeah. I mean, that operation, like the October 7th operation, was planned for probably 2 years or something. There's a very logistically complicated operation. But anyway, so in that war, in 73, Israel's front in the north collapses, and at the time, Israel wasn't a nuclear power, and this is what we call a use them or lose them situation, or in Israel's case, they call it the Samson doctrine. Samson in the temple, he pushes the walls down, kills it, takes everybody with him.
You know who he killed?
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah.
He killed the Philistines.
Yeah, the Philistines. Yeah, of course. He took down the temple with him.
Palestinians, in the minds of Jews, it's the same.
It's the same.
They're the same people. Yeah, right?
They're enemies,
Yeah, the ancient enemies of, and Christian Zionists believe the same thing, by the way.
Yes, okay.
So the Golda Meir, she was the prime minister at the time, right? And
I just need to say the quote of Samson. The quote of Samson is Tamut nafshi in Plishtim, which means my soul will die with the Philistines. Okay, I will die with the Philistines. I commit suicide so that the Philistines will also die.
Yeah. So imagine that on a nuclear level.
That's what I'm scared of, by the way.
Shit,
again, like that is user malusm, and in terms of that's pretty much a nightmare situation. We do not want a nuclear state regime to collapse. That's terrifying. Right.
That's terrifying.
Because again, the regime will do anything to ensure its own survival.
Yeah.
And Golda Meir knew that. She calls up Nixon and Kissinger and says, "Hey, like we have no forces left between basically the Golan and Tel Aviv, because you can just go down the coast, right? Just straight through Caesarea down Tel Aviv, and just like basically
like from
destroy the entire
you
country.
could just go down and get to Tel Aviv like freely. This is what she said.
Yeah, like once the front collapses, and Nixon knew that, Kissinger knew that, Golda Meir knew that, and so they said, "Hey, like unless you rearm us,
we will use the nuclear bomb." This is what she said.
Yes, exactly, and that is anyway. That's a different conversation in terms of nuclear strategy, but that was obviously a very traumatic day for Israel and Israelis, but that was a major war. Every conflict since then has required external support.
Yes.
In order to achieve some kind of operational victory, because there are several. Every victory, every conflict since then, Israel has what we call a strategic defeat. The invasion of Lebanon in 1982. That resulted in an 18-year occupation, which was with a withdrawal. Strategic defeat. The 2006 invasion of Lebanon, the goal was to disarm and delegitimize Hezbollah. Failure. And like militarily, Hezbollah fought Israel to a draw. 2008, strategic failure. 2012, same. 2014, 2021, and now
it's probably the biggest failure. I think
exactly.
Like Israel is a pariah state, just a pariah state.
Yes, it is, and the consequences of this will be felt for generations.
Yes.
Yes. So, and I was shocked. Like, I mean, again, I didn't really know much about Biden's past feelings on Israel. before October 7th.
I feel it's a loss on every front there that exists, like, you know, strategic, the PR war,
it's like
everything that
we can
diplomatic
Israel.
Israel's
military is like military force is a sledgehammer. It's good for breaking shit, right? That's it. That's really it. And Israel has a very big sledgehammer, and it knows how to use it, but it just makes a bigger mess, you know? When you break down the apartment, right? It's just a bigger fucking mess, you know?
You know, I thought about it. I just want to share this thought that, you know, like in the settler colony, the whole idea that people are spoiled, you know, they grow up to live like there's this myth of the IDF soldier, but people here are not. They want a comfortable life.
They're big babies, basically.
Yeah, they're big, like
right.
And the only reason we have this advantage is because of money and power and technology, but it's not a man-to-man, you know, advantage.
100%, yes.
Yeah. And
absolutely.
That's why, you know, it's so scary, like because that's what we always say, like the moment United States stop supporting us, like.
So
what? Go ahead.
What would be the conditions for the US to stop support? Like, this is the same question, right? What continues the support of the US and what would be the conditions to stop it? Like, what would make it stop?
Maybe this is
right. So like
important question.
This is like the critical question, right?
There are those one, in my opinion, there are these three main pillars of US support for Israel, and it is entirely domestic in nature these days.
Yes.
One is AIPAC and, you know, the ADL, all those affiliates, which I want to be clear, they are very powerful. They have lots of resources. And
where do those resources come from? Is it mainly like rich American Jews, or is it something more sinister?
Okay, so for example, yes, like that's a big, you know, Sheldon Adelson, he died now, but he has done more to, well, he did a lot. Like he said a few years ago before he died, he said something like, Israel's not going to be a democracy anymore, so what?
I remember.
Like, who cares?
He said it.
And he was a Vegas. He was a billionaire, owned a few casinos in Vegas.
Yes.
A lot of money came from him. All the money for birthright came from him as well. Then there's also the Christian Zionists group, which
we talked about,
just to be clear, there are more. And there's actually more of them than there are and they're very wealthy and powerful as well.
So they're bigger
and there's
pressure group than the Jewish ones.
And the Jewish law.
Arguably. In terms of size, yes. In terms of power, maybe. They're both very powerful, and there are lots of voters is the thing. And evangelical Christians are very motivated voters. Like, they're idiots mostly, but they will vote, you know? And oh God, like when I hear, like, again, I log onto Facebook, I'm like, oh my God, these people vote. Oh God. Terrifying.
It makes you question the whole concept of democracy, right?
Of elective.
Elective democracy.
I don't really worship the founders of the US, but James Madison, who was one of the founders, he basically said this democracy thing only works if people are educated and moral. And if you don't have that, you have well, I guess we're finding out, you know? But there's also the third pillar, which is the military industrial complex.
Yes.
And as I said in our conversation, Israel has been for a long time, not just, you know, in the last few years, but for a long time, has been a laboratory of fascism and a laboratory of authoritarian repression for decades. And a lot of the weapons and tactics that are used by regimes around the world are first used in the Palestinian territories by Israeli forces. The weapons, the strategies, tactics,
the surveillance,
all used.
Right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And like, I don't know if you guys saw this, but so October 7th happens, and you guys are like the companies like Lockheed, Raytheon, Boeing, all that stuff. weapons manufacturers, Northrop Grumman, their stock shot up on October 8th.
Really?
It just went, yeah, like on the chart, like it would just went, like it was high enough because weapons, I mean, it's always profitable weapons, but it went boom. It was just like,
So this
oh
is like,
yeah, you know.
This is like people say the conspiracy theories, yes, Iran supported Hamas and all kinds of things. If I were to form a conspiracy theory about this, I would say those people, right? These are the people who made the most money.
Yeah,
off of this.
Oh yeah, like they.
Beneficiaries, the main
I want to
Yeah.
tell a small story. I want to tell a small story.
Yeah, yeah.
I was working in this company that trains people to work for high-tech companies. And one day, a guy from Rafael is הרשות לפיתוח אמצעי לחימה, the authority for the development of weapons, basically. This is a semi-military, semi-civilian organization that is one of the most powerful organizations. You probably know about Rafael, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So this is like the biggest organization for weapons in Israel, and they're super rich and super supported by the
Elbit or this.
Yeah, yeah.
No, this is a civilian one. Rafael is like the government one, okay?
Yeah.
And this guy, he was like high up in Rafael, and he was like talking about all the opportunities, the new opportunities, and everybody is kissing his ass, of course. And he was talking about the new opportunities, and he was talking about the war in Ukraine. And he said, yes, we are very, I don't even remember if he gave this refrain of, yes, we are very sad. Don't tell anyone, but yes, this is
very profitable.
He said, don't tell anyone, but we're not really sad about what is going on because, yes, you know, we are making money.
We have customers.
And
make the ching-ching, right?
And everybody laughed. Everybody laughed. And I wanted to throw up my entire soul. Oh,
yeah, absolutely.
There was a similar there for a long time.
I believe it was the CEO or CFO, one of the two, of Lockheed, and he like there's a recording leaked by the Guardian, and this is like I think in November, so like about a month after the attack, and the recording said, "Hey, what's happening over there is really tragic, but this is also a huge financial opportunity for us." It was just again, it was so disgusting. But the way it's like this not cold-blooded, like this again, like it's just all these Palestinian bodies are they're just like dollar signs to them. You know, that's it.
And then when they come out of the gates on the 7th of October, they're like, oh my God, they're behaving like monsters. Like you treat them as a laboratory.
Are you kidding me? Yeah.
And you are the real monsters. Like they are who are let's think.
You're the one, you're putting them in camps and then surveilling them and bombing the shit out of them and stealing their land and murdering their families. But somehow they're the savages,
Yeah.
Yes.
Because you do it,
but
in an office and you have air condition and you don't feel your own like psychopathy because
the aesthetics are better here. It's all about aesthetics for these people.
You got your panoramic view of like downtown New York or whatever.
Dude.
Yeah, I mean,
Nice.
So they have obviously those people have a lot of money and power, and they also that is another pressure group that presses both Congress and the White House, no matter who is in office. Because they want to test their weapons in a cost-effective manner. And Palestinians are that solution for them. They're just guinea pigs. Palestinians are guinea pigs of these people.
Because what's better than a population that is held under occupation to try?
Exactly, right. Because you can
they complain about Mengele, then they complain about Mengele, Joseph Mengele, who did the experiments on Jews during the
right, yeah, that's right.
This is Mengele times a million, times a billion, I don't know, times a what?
Yeah, because you did like one-on-one on people.
Like singular, like a few people, like maybe a few dozen people, let's say. And this is millions, and you're doing whatever you want.
And so it's basically like this giant weapons lab where you just use these disposable bodies to, and again, like these are very wealthy people and they have congressmen in their pockets, like through lobbying, and they pressure again, Congress, the White House to hey, kind of like, this is where you want to test our weapons. And if you want to, for example, if you want to defend Ukraine, or fight China, which is also like an upcoming peer competitor with the United States, we need a place to test our weapons. And they use Palestinians, like, again, guinea pigs, like rats in a lab. And it's and you guys have probably seen it more than I did, but like when I saw that, I remember seeing when I was there, I was near Kalkilia in the West Bank, and I saw like this grove of olive trees, well, ex-grove, it was destroyed by these grenades. Like these Israeli soldiers came by and tossed some grenades.
I didn't see that. I didn't see it, but I'm not surprised in the least bit.
Yeah, but it was just so kind of like using these really sophisticated weapons for like these sadistic, really childish, as we've seen since October 7th, purposes.
Childish.
But yeah, like when I saw that, I realized I was like, this is like, it's a weapons lab. These people are like they're lab rats for weapons manufacturers.
Yes.
And for both Israeli and American and European weapons manufacturers.
Yes.
To test. To say that it's horrifying in both ways. It's horrifying that they're testing this, but it's also horrifying that they're developing this, because it means this thing is being used more and more and more on more populations.
Yes. Like,
yeah.
Have you heard about like the 2 AI programs? Do you see that the report in 972 Mag?
Yeah, lavender, right?
About lavender? Yeah, lavender. So there's lavender in the gospel, right? You saw that?
I read the first one on the gospel. I didn't read the second article about the lavender and who's daddy, how they call it, like
the what? Sorry.
They have two, like the Who's Daddy, which is an AI system who is...
Where's Daddy, right?
Oh, yeah.
Where is Daddy? Where is Daddy?
Yeah.
Why it's called like this? Because it's meant to target the people when they're at home with their families.
Yes.
Because then it's the easiest to target them.
Yes.
And then they say, oh, it's a mistake. It's a mistake. It's a mistake. But the name of their system says it's on purpose.
Like, oh, like,
just says
yeah, like we are accepting like this civilian to combatant death ratio, which is, as Israeli intelligence sources have leaked into 972 Mag in that report like last week, they're like, yeah, it's like unprecedentedly high, right?
I think it's 20 to 1, basically.
30 to 1. I think I saw
30 to 1. I don't remember exactly. Okay.
Yes. But in any case, it's obviously an atrocity, right? But that kind of target generation software is the future of warfare. Which is terrifying, right?
Yes.
And like these systems are not efficient systems. They're not good. They're good at bombing shit.
Yeah.
But that's good on the operational level. But the strategic and grand strategy, which is a different thing, but it is a strategic defeat again, like I said, for Israel. But that's the future of warfare, and these companies want to test out their software and their hardware in this weapons lab, and for them it's very cost effective.
Yes.
And the way, so to answer, how do we fight this?
I just want to say, just so people understand, many people in Israel have gotten stinking rich off of these things. Okay. So many people in Israel are involved in this. So many people in Israel make their money by participating in the system, not just the people who are now serving in the Israeli army, okay? Also people who are in civil society. There is no separation between the army and civil society. And these people are stinking rich, and they live in huge villas and so forth and so on, just because they have participated in this system and made a lot of money. By participating
a lot of money.
It's funny how they always say like they, like Israel says like they use people as human shield. The resistance is part of population. It's million times more true.
Yeah,
about the
every accusation by
I know. Where's the Israeli Defense Ministry? It's in the middle of Tel Aviv. Like, come on.
Yes.
And,
Yeah.
and
But
everyone
if Hamas bombed that,
yeah.
if Hamas bombed that, that would be a terrorist attack, you know?
Yes,
Yes.
of course. Of course.
Yeah. So yeah, like
I think
the
you,
way
we're talking about
how we defeat this.
how we defeat this.
yeah. And the answer is, well, again, answer. I think one way to do this is protest is not enough. It is not.
Yes. I also
there has to be disruption, like unrelenting, merciless disruption of not only the politicians' lives, because these people are supposed to be public servants, but they're getting rich
Yes.
off of this horrifying
They are
situation.
puppets of huge corporations, and
Exactly, and that's why people like the people at the top of companies like Lockheed, Boeing, Northrop Grumman, Raytheon, Elbit, another Israeli weapons manufacturer. These companies, they're manufactured. They need to be disrupted, and like those people, like they need to be held accountable.
Yes.
And like politicians, lobbyists, and the corporations, all three of them, like they have to be disrupted. All of them.
Yes.
You can't. So, for example, like people gather outside of like a U.S. congressman's home. They hound them in the hallway of Congress. That's good. And that's important, but that's not enough. They need to do that with everyone, make their lives a living hell.
Yes.
Until they finally listen to the vast majority of Americans, by the way.
Yes.
We do not, I think 80% of Americans, or at least 70%, want a ceasefire at the very least.
Yes.
And
that's even with 80 million people who are Christian Zionists. Right?
Yes, yeah. And because they are a big number, they are still a minority. There's more people like me than there are of them. They're just louder.
More normal people.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, way more. But people like me aren't as loud.
More normal, maybe like
normal-ish
people who don't
normal-ish.
know what's going on.
Yeah.
But yeah, like the solution, like protest we've seen, it's
doesn't work.
Not enough. Basically, like the Democrats have said, like Hillary Clinton literally said, "Get over it."
Yeah.
So first of all, fuck you.
Fuck her.
Yeah. For a lot of reasons. But they have responded. The Democratic Party in particular has responded with just arrogance and dismissiveness.
Yes.
Because
they know it's a two-party system, and no one really
exactly. Who are you gonna do? Vote for Orange Hitler, or what are you gonna do? Vote for Orange Hitler? So like the point is, we've come to making our voices heard has to come through the form of disruption.
Yes.
Make their lives they cannot live normal lives until they listen to us.
Yes.
Until they stop, these various angles of atrocities that we've talked about.
That's the problem. They don't suffer the consequence of their actions.
Never.
They need to start to suffer the consequence of their actions.
Like one in 10,000, like 0.00001% consequences of their actions. Maybe. Maybe. That would be enough.
Exactly.
That would be enough to make their lives living hells,
Yeah, like just like some kind of accountability. And like it has never happened, and that has to be changed. Protest is not enough. The answer is disruption.
I wonder if there's
in my opinion
we can do here also in Israel.
It seems very scary and dangerous here.
Because we don't
I mean, you guys have it way worse than I do. Like it's terrifying. I would not want to be in your position right now.
Listen, just like here, we went to a coffee shop today before we recorded some of Elik's songs, and then we were talking about stuff with people there, and we couldn't mention what we were doing. We were scared. We were scared just of like feeling unease and feeling the aggression of people who
and they were really super cute people.
I really loved them. Like in any other circumstances, there would be no problem,
Until you mention a certain thing, and then they get triggered.
Yeah, so I didn't mention it. Mention it,
Good call. Yeah. Like that's scary. Like I mean,
But
you said you had some point to tell us about Bibi, right?
Bibi, right? Yeah.
Oh, right. So
Alon
got
said
it. Yeah.
before on the break that he feels that Bibi is not the
Like,
main issue, or
insignificant.
not such a big issue.
Let me say why I say this. Because
Yeah, go ahead.
like,
yeah.
they always say, yeah, it's Bibi's government, it's Bibi's government. But this is very convenient for the Zionists to say it's Bibi's
They
government.
didn't know how
Especially-
right wing.
Yeah. And especially for the left-wing Zionists, okay, it's very convenient for them to say this. But in reality, all of them support it. 95%, at least.
Yes.
95% of Jewish Israeli society is supporting what is going on in Gaza now, or thinks that we should do worse. Okay.
Yeah. And
So
when
it's
they
not
say
Bibi's government,
and they still don't see the Palestinians as human beings,
Yes.
you know, equally
As people.
they don't see them.
Yeah.
'Cause
I remember
the
seeing
progress-
like I remember seeing when I was there again last, like I saw like how Palestinians are presented in media and textbooks, like education, media, and I was like, oh wow, you know, like I mean, you know how I know it was very like, dehumanizing, to say the least. And like these are some savages trying to kill us, that kind of thing. And
yes.
yeah,
To Bibi.
yeah. So, anyways, yeah, Netanyahu, the reason he is relevant, and as much as he's just like hearing him talk, just like, oh God, I hate it. But his gift as a politician is he said on numerous times he knows how to, like he says, I know how to play the Americans.
Right.
Yes, okay.
And
that's why
he does not
for him also.
what he does know, like that's not general issue. What he does know is how to play American Christians. He recognizes.
I always thought of him as like this well, evangelist, like a preacher, you know, like a preacher who goes to talk and says all the stuff and does the miracles, right? It's the same energy, right?
Yeah, it's very similar. So he recognizes that, like I said, like people like Christian Zionists have like this visceral, emotional reaction to Israel, right? That is 100% positive, 100% supportive. Netanyahu realizes this, and so he goes over there and he says, you know, hey, like, and he says, like, you know, he says things like, hey, our deep friendship, our oldest friend with the United States, our partnership in like the U.S. and Israel. He recognizes what the Israel brand, just to put it, I guess, marketing terms, means to Christian Zionists, and he presents himself as the face of that.
Wow.
And that's how he keeps drawing that support from American Christians, because he recognizes how to leverage that. And he is very good at that. He is a total shitheel. But God, I mean, he does recognize that, and he plays that to, like, I mean, a lot of his addresses, like, you know, like what he says in Hebrew, what he says in English are two very different things. Often. Yeah. And his addresses, anytime they're in English, they are tailor-made for Christian Zionists. Tailor-made. And again, he knows that. And he's very good at playing that, at least that very significant portion of American society. And of course, then they pressure Congress, the White House, those people into supporting Israel no matter what. And there are lots of congressmen who feel the same way, especially in the House of Representatives, sorry. So again, he is relevant in terms of just his political skill.
Yes.
And it would be my opinion that yes, like the rest of Israeli society, the vast majority of like wants what's happening, right?
Yes.
But it is also my opinion, like as of right now, I do think that Netanyahu would try to escalate with Hezbollah, which would be catastrophic, because he knows the one thing that Israelis hate more than him right now is the Palestinians. Now, once that issue is shelved, the Israeli public is going to turn on him, right?
Yes, let's just mention there are, I think at the moment, 4 different indictments against Netanyahu
for corruption, right?
For taking bribes, for influencing Israeli elections, and so forth, and controlling the media, and so on. Like, really,
he knows he's fucked.
And like the evidence is clear cut. It's like
obviously
of all 4 counts. Okay, His like cult members, we say that Zionism is a cult, but there is a cult inside the cult, which is Bibiism. And this is an even worse cult. Even worse cult. The Zionists call them crazy, okay? Just so you understand. The Zionists say the Bibiists crazy, okay? Just so you understand the level of insanity. So they do not believe it. They say he is innocent, okay? It's all lies. It's the same as Trump, okay? It's the same as Trump. So Bibi,
personality cults.
Yes, Bibi knows that once things calm down, okay, he might be indicted and he will have to fight this legal war again, and he might go to prison. There is a chance that he will go to prison. Okay? And also now he was the head of the government that was responsible for October 7th.
Yeah.
Right? So
the worst security disaster in Israeli history.
So it is in like the complete interest of Bibi to continue this conflict as long as possible. Like in his personal interest. Just like, what would you do if you were Bibi? Continue this conflict. You would not.
Yeah, exactly.
Because
he clearly does not even care about Israeli lives. Like, he just wants to stay in power, right?
Yes.
So that's why I would even take like Naftali Bennett over him right now, because the number one priority, who is, we all know who he is. But he is still less likely to escalate with Hezbollah. Yes. So right now, like, I would say the priority is getting rid of Netanyahu, even though like the rest of the Israeli public is still on board with what's happening in Gaza, the vast majority of it. But the goal has to be reducing the risk of escalation, because I mean, again, Israel can't win a war against Hamas, which this is like they have AK-47s and rockets stuck with IEDs.
Yes.
If Hezbollah gets involved, that would be catastrophic for Syria, Lebanon, Israel, the U.S., Iran. That's terrifying. And Netanyahu obviously does not care, right?
He doesn't.
So I do think he is relevant for that reason.
The house with him, that's what he wants.
His wife has been quoted a few years ago, like maybe a decade ago. There were tapings of his wife, Sarah Netanyahu. She is also a very big public figure. It is a running joke in society that it's actually Sarah Netanyahu who runs things, okay? I don't know how true it is, but there has been a recording of her saying, they do not appreciate my husband and all he did for this country. If they do not appreciate him, we will go away and let Israel burn. This is a direct quote of Sarah Netanyahu.
Wait, she actually said this. She said that.
Yes, she said that. This is the direct quote.
That for some reason that explains why what Yair Netanyahu, is that how you say it? Yair Netanyahu?
He's the worst.
He's like
ever.
He's fucking around in Miami right now. God, he's the worst. That explains so much. Oh god.
No, they don't care about anything or anyone other than themselves.
But themselves. Yes. Yeah, exactly. So I do think he's relevant for that reason. Will that change the Palestinian thing? But will
demonstrations against him? For me, it's hard.
Sorry?
There are many demonstrations against him right now.
I've seen the videos,
Yeah.
How can I join Zionists who support the genocide in any kind of? I don't know. It's a very difficult political and moral question. I don't know how to answer.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Because the one thing you agree is like, hey, Netanyahu needs to go, but other than that, like,
I don't even like. I don't know. Maybe it's better that this kind of. I don't know. Like this kind of. I don't know. It's a horrible thing. I don't know. I will not finish this thought because it's such a horrible thought.
It's a clusterfuck.
It's a clusterfuck. It needs to be burned, maybe.
I will not say it.
Okay, don't say it.
So on that note,
I hope not.
So on that note, we'll be going on for a very, very, very long time, and I already got the job of the good bad guy. So I'm going to be the good bad guy here. And I would say, let's say, if you have any closing remarks, anything else that you want to add.
I just will say it was super interesting. And I feel that
definitely,
And I think we will want to invite you again because I think you're very smart and you know a lot of stuff, and it's exactly the kind of conversation that we want to have, right?
Yeah, that'd be awesome. I'd love to if you guys are interested. Yeah, for sure.
Yes, we are definitely interested. It's weird to say it was a pleasure talking to you. It's weird
Yeah,
to
especially
say,
given the subject matter.
like the thing is, if this is reality, it is better to understand it than to not understand it, and it might be
completely agree.
It might be horrifying, but still, it is the right thing to do to try to understand it as much as possible. And
we have the cards we have.
Let it make us go into despair. We will let it make us smarter and more precise in our
yes
100%, completely agree. Yeah.
Okay, so thank you so much.
Thank you, man.
Nathan, for joining.
Likewise, guys.
A fascinating conversation, and we hope everybody at home watching this podcast or listening to this podcast.
I just maybe as a summary, I want to say, like, I understood that there's so much that people need to start to understand that nothing that works here is for their interests. Like, there's few pressure groups like the military industrial complex, all this Christian, and they all have their own interests.
None of them care about you.
None of them care about you.
You are pawns in their game. You are pawns in their game.
And we need to start as a
at best.
Yeah.
You're cannon fodder.
Yeah. And let's stop be their pawns. That's what
let's not be their pawns anymore. This is so thank you for explaining this vital point so eloquently and so deeply. And yes, we would love to have you over again to really maybe there will be more viewer questions, and maybe we will have more.
Let's hope so.
Yeah, and we would love to have you again for to go even deeper into this, and maybe think about. You started talking about what are the correct ways of addressing this situation, and I would love to talk more about this. What can we actually practically do to maybe make the situation slightly less dire?
Yeah, to do something, right? Yeah, that'd be great. Awesome. Yeah.
And if you have sources and stuff you want to share that
we can put links in the description of the video to all kinds of sources that you want to share with the audience, things that were mentioned.
Sources again. The one thing I will say, like, for this whole Christian Zionism thing, if again, it's not supposed to make sense because it is crazy, and so we can give you these sources, but if it's incoherent nonsense, it's not you, it's them. Like, that's all I can say.
Okay.
Yeah, it's absolutely, it's madness. Yeah.
Okay, so one last time, thank you so much, Nathan, and thank you everybody at home for listening for such a long time. I don't even know how long.
Thanks for having me.
Recording.
It's been a long time.
Goodbye, everybody, and peace, justice, and understanding of what is going on around us.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Yeah. See you guys. Have a good night.